in the middle of a stadium, football stadium, looking around. This thing is headed towards Jamaica. It looks like overnight tonight into tomorrow, probably closer to tomorrow morning. So let's start right there. We'll start with the numbers. These are the 8 o'clock numbers that came in, 175 mile per hour winds. It's moving to the northwest at 2. The pressure has come up a little bit to 909. That is still extremely low, still very strong hurricane out there. And it's about 155 miles to the southwest of Kingston, Jamaica. And Kingston's on the southeast corner. Oh, well, there you go. You can see it on the map, okay? Now, here's the bigger picture. You can see where Cuba is, Turks and Caicos, the Caymans. It looks like it's going to be that western tip of Jamaica that gets a pretty good hit of it. Let's take you live out now, if we can, to Negril. Now, Negril is on the far leftern side of this thing. Look at that. There's not much going on. I mean, very light winds there. I would expect that because the winds are out of the east. All right. And on the other side of the island, over in Kingston, they've got 24 mile per hour winds. They've had gusts in the 30s, close to 40, but just gusts. OK. But that's where the wind is coming in. So this is actually on the other side of the island, and it's sheltered by the island itself, at least for now. Okay, let me zoom in just a little bit closer here and give you an idea of what we were just looking at. So Negril is over here, Kingston's over here. And so what we have is some really good winds coming in like this. All right, so they're blowing straight offshore at Negril right there. And in fact, the ocean is just flat. The Caribbean Sea is just flat right there. That will not be the case for long. That will change, as you can imagine. Now, here's a look at the track. And what I've done is add the category of hurricane status on there. So when you see it turn black here, that is Cat 5. Anything over, well, anything 157 miles per hour or higher is Category 5. The blue here, Cat 4. Cat 3, Cat 2, Cat 1, tropical storm. So you can see how quickly this thing just went. All right, it didn't take long once it got going. Now, it is wobbling, and if you look, they thought it was up here, but now, yeah, they got it down here. Probably going to wobble a little bit before it makes a turn to the north and the west. This is getting a little bit further west, I think, so it'll be interesting. Now, Recon's been in and out of there today. That's where they've got that incredible video coming out of there. It's just, oh, it's just so crazy to see. That plane you see right there that just flew in, that came out of Lakeland. That's our very own. That's Miss Piggy and Kermit, at least one of them, and likely doing a science mission in there. I mean, obviously helping out with the locations. That's why they're crisscrossing, doing what we call those figure fours. But they're also, the flight that I was on trying to get to Aaron on the east coast of North Carolina, the objective that particular flight was to use the tail radar on that plane right there to look at the radar as a satellite moves over that same area at that same time. And then they can compare. Here's what the actual radar looks like in the storm, and here's what it looks like from the satellite. And how can we train the satellite to see what the tail Doppler sees, because it's more high res? And that way we don't have to use this plane as much. We can use the satellite. So that's one of the science missions that they use there. Now, these are the surface winds, all right? And so the center, excuse me, sorry about that. The center is about, well, they said from Kingston. So it's about 155 miles. It's a little bit closer now, all right? But the winds here are starting to get a little bit closer. All right, 45 mile per hour winds. You have those hurricane force winds sitting out there. And in fact, I kind of drew this one there for you. This will show about 80 miles from that southwest corner of Jamaica to those eye wall winds. And the highest winds are generally right in this area, right in here. All right, right in there. That's where you're going to see 175 mile per hour winds. Now, look, when you see that number, that's a crazy number, I know. However, most areas will not see that high of a wind. That's the highest they could find in a small part of the storm. But you better bet 150, 160 mile per hour winds are widespread around that eye wall. And I don't think it weakens very much before it makes landfall. It's going to turn. There's going to be a little shear on it to make it turn, but it's not going to weaken a whole lot. So I would not be surprised if this maintains at least Cat 5, at least 157 between now and landfall in Jamaica, which is probably going to be mid-morning tomorrow morning. All right, now, here's the latest track as of 5 p.m. This is the latest track update that we got from the Hurricane Center. We'll get another one at 11. 8 p.m. we just get data, right? We get the new numbers. But here you go. You can see 145 mile per hour winds tomorrow. That's after landfall on that southwestern tip of Cuba. All right, so it's going to have to take a hard right turn pretty quickly tonight for that to happen. All right, so it may end up getting on just this, I mean, maybe right over top of Negril, which is just on the very western tip right there. Versus now it looks like it could be somewhere to the east of Negril, but Kingston's way over here. The right side of the storm generally has the worst weather on it, okay? But that's tomorrow at 1 o'clock. It's right over land. Now, tomorrow night into Wednesday morning, it's now moving across the Caribbean again and towards southeastern Cuba and Guantanamo Bay. All right, winds estimated at that point. Landfall will probably be overnight, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, in the middle of the night, and likely about 125 mile per hour winds, which is Cat 3. Anything over 111 goes to Cat 3, okay? Then by Wednesday afternoon, see, it's picked up a little bit of speed here, but by Wednesday afternoon, it's going to come off the coast of Cuba down to about 110 mile per hour winds, and that's what it's taking through the southeastern Bahamas, the central and the southeastern Bahamas. The Turks and Caicos are kind of split here with a hurricane warning and a hurricane watch, but you can see the southern Bahamas here, central and southern Bahamas have basically hurricane warnings now in effect, meaning they expect to have winds in excess of 74 miles per hour move across those islands with surge and all that good stuff as we get into Wednesday, I guess I should say, into Wednesday night. And then by Thursday, by sunrise Thursday, it's already pulling away. But wait, there's more, because this now looks like it wants to get pretty close to Bermuda. By that time, we're talking late Thursday night. It's about 85 mile per hour winds. But I tell you, Bermuda's just been dodging. They've been here, they've been coming up here, they've been coming up here. Bermuda's been dodging these things all summer long. It looks like they're going to have to deal with one more of these. Now, I want to go over watches and warnings real fast. Hurricane warnings right here obviously for Jamaica, eastern tip of Cuba, but the central and southeastern Bahamas. Meanwhile, over here in Haiti, they've got a tropical storm warning. I wanted to point this out a little bit because a lot of folks in the Florida area go to the Bahamas. A lot of folks cruise to the Bahamas, right? Nassau's fine. Grand Bahama's fine. This area that got hit, Marsh Harbor, I mean, you remember Dorian just sat there? That area is fine. It's as you get further down to the south that they will be dealing with some of that. And if the center goes somewhere in here, it would be those islands to the south and the east of the center that see the worst of the weather, all right? That eye wall, one good thing about the eye wall is it's relatively small, all right? The whole hurricane winds only go out about 30, 35 miles from the center. Okay, so it's about 70 miles wide of hurricane force winds. All right, now, forecast models at this point, we were still waiting to see the turn, so that's important. However, at this point, you can see most of them are taking it up. Oh, that went pretty fast. What happened there? Most of them are taking it up across those islands, and eventually it'll pick up the speed as it's doing so. All right, so that is not that much to argue, but I did want to show you the bigger picture with that, because I've seen on the internet over the weekend people saying like Hurricane Sandy going into New York and blah, blah, blah. It's not happening. In fact, if it's going past Bermuda, it's not going to go into New York, but you can see most of the islands in really good agreement that it heads out to sea. Now, let's talk rain. Very, very heavy rainfall, okay? 15 to 30 inches. What you're seeing here numbers-wise, if you take a look at these colors and go up here, this is from now moving forward, all right? They've already been seeing a ton of rain, all right? But it's really going to get heavy, obviously, as the center gets closer, and that's where they're going to end up probably with totals all together now, including what they've already seen, about 15 to 30 inches of rain, all right? A little less than that, but look at Santiago here in Cuba. That pink right there is 15 inches, over a foot, right? 15 to 20 inches is possible in eastern Cuba. By the way, Gitmo has been evacuating. They've been basically, I think they had all non-essential out by Sunday morning. They were getting most of them out by Saturday evening, but wanted to get them all out by Sunday morning. Now, here's the deal. There's a front that just came through Florida today. It's moving through Florida right now. This is it. This is part of a trough that's helping to pick this thing up and take it out. So watch this. Front comes through. This is tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. The front's already through most of Florida. In fact, it's clearing Miami by that time. And here's the storm coming across southeast Cuba. So this helps to pull it to the northeast, all right? And then look at that. By Wednesday evening, it's holding it off. It's blocking Florida, right? We're getting lucky with that. And meanwhile, here comes another front, and this is a much stronger front. Between the two of these, it is going to pick this thing up and take it out to sea. And wow, did we get lucky as far as that's concerned. Now, when we get beyond that, look at all this moisture that's sitting out there, northeast, well, I should say southeast Bahamas, Turks and Caicos. You see all that right there? That's where a lot of the moisture is. All the dry and cooler air now, a lot of wind shear too, is moving over the southeast. Look where we look for storms this time of year. Same spot. So we're progressing. The pattern's progressing just the way that it should be for this time of the year. Okay, let's take a quick break. When we come back, I want to show you some video coming out of Jamaica.